Hello again. I obviously have another video on Tim Ballard. Actually, this video is going to be more about everything that's happened and what is going on in social media and the media in general. But I just saw this. Tim Ballard is no longer involved with OUR. It actually happened right after the movie came out. I think the same day maybe. But nobody's really talked about it, and they're not really saying much except that it looks like the board pushed him out. Don't know if that was part of his plan or if it was against his will, but supposedly he's going to be working more on the organization that he has, Nazarene Fund. That's the one that Glenn Beck is involved in, or maybe the one that Glenn Beck started. I can't remember. There's so many organizations, but anyway, that is what is new as of right now. Here's another article. This one's from Vice. Those will be linked below so you can read them. By the time I post this video, it'll probably be old news because I'm having some issues with stuff, and plus I'll probably have to finish this tomorrow because I am tired. I'm ready to go to bed, and I have a lot to say about all of this, so it might be 2 videos rather than one. So I want to talk about the beginning of all this, and because there's a lot of things that have happened that the media is pretending didn't, or just people are being gaslit right and left, I think. And there's things, people have just a short memory, or they don't want people to know things or see things. And so I'm just gonna do a quick video on some things that I find interesting that aren't being mentioned anymore. So the beginning. Angel Studios, who is the company that got the movie from whoever owned it, and actually brought it to the big screen, they are a Mormon company. And prior to all of this happening, you can see on the screen right now, The Chosen, they actually, I don't know what the correct terminology is. They produce The Chosen or own The Chosen. I'm not sure which. But anyway, they're the ones that promote it and do all whatever Angel Studios does. I don't know all the roles and stuff in all these companies, but they're the backers, I guess, of The Chosen. If you are a Christian or conservative, you've probably heard some stuff, you know, about The Chosen, things, just stupid things that they've done, and stupid things that Dallas Jenkins says. It's just a hot mess. But so my personal experience with it is that a few years ago I purchased season 1 of The Chosen. And the reason I purchased it is because a man at the church I was attending was very gung-ho into The Chosen and had a display set up and was, you know, just real into it. And the church showed the Christmas episode of The Chosen, and it was really good. It was just so moving, and I was just blown away. So I ended up purchasing the whole first season from that. Like I said, that was a few years ago, and I still have not opened that DVD. It's still in its plastic wrap. And the reason is that something told me not to open it. Something told me not to watch it. This was before I knew. I don't know if Angel Studios was even involved at that point. I don't think they've been involved the whole time. I think they came into the picture later on. I'm not sure about that, but I had no clue in any case if they were. And something just kept telling me, you know, yeah, don't watch it, don't watch it. Meanwhile, people all around me were really getting into The Chosen, and you know, different stories were coming out and everything, and I was like, dang, I'm glad I didn't get into it. Now, what I noticed on Facebook was that I kept getting ads from The Chosen, and I kept telling them I don't want to see these ads, but they kept coming anyway. And the more ads that I got, the more I noticed that there were more and more people on these posts saying, oh, you know, how awesome it is, and it's so great in the acting, and this and that and the other, and they didn't have a problem with it being backed by a Mormon company. And Dallas Jenkins was just saying some weird things, like, regarding Mormons, that, and he didn't always say the same thing. He would say, no, I didn't say that, I said this. And so Mormons are not Christian. They will tell you that they are, and they might think that they are, but they are not a Christian religion. That if you don't know that and you don't understand that, you need to do the research. That's just a fact. I don't want to go on about that too long, but so the more that people became cultish over The Chosen, the more I was like, I'm so glad I didn't start watching it. And the more I paid attention to things they were saying about it, and there were people on Facebook saying, I have watched it 6 times, it's so good. I mean, when I say 6 times, at this point there's like three seasons out, I think. They've watched all 3 seasons 6 times each. And I'm sorry, but that is not normal. And there are people, I've watched it 3 times, I've watched it, 5 times, and they have lost their minds over this series. I don't care how good the acting is. I don't want a show and the visions in my head to replace the visions and the information I should get out of the true Bible. That's my issue with watching a show that Dallas Jenkins even admitted it's 95% fiction, because there's only so much in the Bible, and they have to add stuff to it to make a storyline out of it, and he's admitted to that. But people are like, I don't care, it's getting me to read my Bible more, and blah blah blah. So anyway, I have watched this happen on Facebook, and even my friends are like, they're not Mormon. I'm like, yes they are. Or I don't care if they're Mormon. I'm like, well, you're an idiot. I'm just getting more and more like really sad for Christians and there's the stance that they've taken on this, because the reality is it has become so cultish, and people are spending so much time and energy on this TV show. Well, is it a TV show? Or this programming, whatever you want to call it. They're not doing what they are supposed to be doing. God has called us to do certain things, and one of those is to tell people about Jesus. And if we're at home watching this show repeatedly, then we are not fulfilling the Great Commission. We're not even out there talking to our neighbors. And people that aren't convicted about that, like, I have to wonder about their salvation. I mean, I really do. It's like, I think they have that insurance. They think they have that insurance policy in their back pocket, and they can waste all their time, watching TV and entertaining themselves with junk instead of doing what they've been called to do, and that's just not right at all. So from that, the bigger The Chosen got, so then I started getting ads from Angel Studios, and Angel Studios was looking for funding for other projects. I can't remember what they were. Some of them might pop up on this thing that for Angel Studios. I don't know why I have that on there, because I think I'm going to go off of it, because I don't want to advertise for them. But what Angel Studios did was they took their following from The Chosen and started advertising other projects. And one of them was Sound of Freedom. And everybody's like, oh, thank God it's finally coming to the movie theater. It's gonna, blah, blah. I didn't know the backstory of it. I had no idea what the history was. I had never heard of Tim Ballard before. And I knew that there was trafficking. I knew sex trafficking happened. I knew that child molesters were out there. I knew all of that. You'd have to be, living under a rock to not know that. But Angel Studios took advantage of that cult movement that they had going, and they started advertising the Sound of Freedom. And so now I'm getting Sound of Freedom ads, Angel Studio ads, and The Chosen ads on Facebook 2, 3, 4 times a day. So it was growing bigger and bigger. By the time I would see a post, it had thousands of comments in support of all 3 of those. So Angel Studios convinced all these people that they should go ahead and buy tickets to the movie, and also that they should buy tickets for their friends. And basically that's what happened. Everybody pre-bought tickets, they bought extra tickets, and they kind of did, you know, that pay it forward thing, like buy tickets so people that can't afford it can see it for free. So when the movie opened, basically, and I read an article about this isn't something that's just in my head, but they're saying that the reason why the movie beat Indiana Jones on opening weekend was because of all of the pre-bought tickets. And I've also seen people talking on social media about, well, I went to the theater and it was supposed to be sold out and it wasn't even half full. And that is because so many tickets were purchased and then people didn't use them. So basically they got funding for the movie, and people may or may not have even gone to see the movie even though they bought tickets. Of course, some people went and saw it 2 or 3 times. It's kind of like a cult thing again. I don't know, people are just crazy. But so a lot of people are complaining about that, and I do think that there's a little bit, it's not illegal, and I don't know if this is something that other people have done before to do better on opening day. I don't think it is. I think this is something that is a new thing that they kind of came up with. Hey, this is how we can beat Hollywood. To me, it's not Christian. Not that I expect them to do anything Christian, because they're not Christian, but if you want to pretend like you are and call yourself Christian, then that's not how you're going to do it. So anyway, that's what happened with that, with all the pre-orders, and because they had that cult following, they had so many people buying tickets. So pretty early on, I want to say it may have been like the day after opening day. I don't think it was before the movie opened, but I saw an interview with Jim Caviezel, and he was talking about adrenochrome, and I don't think he mentioned organ harvesting in that one, but he mentioned the is it adrenochrome? I think it's adrenochrome. And that is where the whole thing started with the QAnon, where, you know, the left started saying, and this is what the whole thing is about. The left started saying that the movie is, I think they called it QAnon adjacent. And also, besides Jim Caviezel saying that in the interview, he had gone to some QAnon events, apparently. And also, Tim Ballard has been involved in QAnon stuff. And I had read about that before the left started saying everything that they said, which, you know, that came from maybe reading articles, the same articles I read, and it may have come from Jim Caviezel's interview. But in any case, the left, who's not going to watch this movie because they can't watch and support something that the right is going crazy over. I mean, that's how right and left works. We know this, and the right would do the same thing. If there is, you know, something that the left was all excited about, the right's going to find all the holes in it. You know, the right's going to tear it down, and this is just when you have people on both sides that are too childish to meet in the middle. This is the kind of stuff they do. So the left has gone crazy with the idea that, you know, QAnon, they have a QAnon interest, and so they're not going to see the movie, but they think that those ideas are in the movie. And I have not seen it, of course, but I I'm pretty sure it's not, and people have said that it's not, but because people on the left aren't watching it, all they can go by what they're hearing in the interviews and the reading in articles. Now, I have not paid too much attention to what's on the left because everything that comes into my social media is from the right. But I did just watch one story. I don't even know. It was a video that popped up. But I did see what they're saying on the left, which is exactly what, it's QAnon adjacent, and it's pushing these ideas that, might not be true. Probably the majority of Americans don't believe in the adrenochrome, whether you're on the right or the left. I don't know where people stand on QAnon. I would say majority of Americans are like, yeah, whatever. Probably the same amount, I would guess. But so when the left started saying what they were saying, the right lost their minds. Completely lost their minds. How can they not just support this movie? Why can't everybody just come together on this one thing, that child trafficking is bad? And that's not what they were saying. Well, I will say this. The one thing I saw, aside from the QAnon stuff, they were mentioning how they were inflating numbers, which he has. That is also true. And every time Tim Ballard is talking about a rescue or this issue at all whatsoever, he uses emotionalism to make it worse than it is. You don't need to add anything to it. But I think because he makes up so much stuff, he feels like it has to be like exaggerated to the point where people are like, they don't want to hear it. When you say it's typical for these children to be raped 50 times a day, and he just uses language that I know most of it is not true. He's making stuff up to just make it worse. He's inflating numbers. He's using more emotional language than is necessary, which, and those words I think are just elaborated. And the left is saying, I don't know, that they're saying the same thing I am. I don't believe him. He's not believable to me, and I can't believe how many people on the right are defending him. But here's my problem with the right. So everything on my social media, like I said, is from the right. I get all the conservative and right-leaning or far-right talking heads, and one after another supporting this movie without doing any research at all whatsoever. And the people responding haven't done any research either, and they basically repeatedly, it's so bad that they're basically all saying the same thing, which is, if you don't support this film, or if you don't support this man, or if you don't think he's a hero, then you're a pedophile. We need to check your hard drives. Literally it's stuff like that, one after the other, after the other, after the other. I wish I thought about finding one that I could share with you, but if you are a conservative, you've already seen it too, I bet. But my issue is, both sides are kind of full of it. The left, no, actually, you know what? It might not even be the left. It might just be the right. Because the left, at least, is smart enough to be skeptical. Now, granted, they're probably skeptical because it's somebody on the right. They're just going to find whatever they can. But in this case, good for them, because they're looking at him, and they're looking at this organization through a different lens, and it's helping them be more objective. Everybody on the right, just because somebody's on the right doesn't mean you support what they do without looking at anything, without using your common sense, and without, you should have, regardless of if somebody's on the right or the left, you should have this thing in your brain that still works and tells you when something's not right. And the people on the right now look like fools because they have not done any research. And if you question them on it, the way that they respond, you don't even want to continue because they're so far off that it's not even worth a conversation, except you just want to pull your hair out because you want people to understand that, you know, you just want to say, just don't give your money. You know, believe what you want. It's going to come out in the end eventually, but don't give your money. But this kind of stuff happens all the time with the right and the left. You know, the same thing happened with that California Senate Bill 14 that didn't get passed. I think it will eventually. They're still working on it, but same exact thing happened. Everybody on the right is losing their minds about how, you know, California doesn't like children, and like, why are we doing this? Do they get paid more for saying this stuff? I mean, I was thinking about this earlier. You got to try and figure out who is controlled opposition and who really cares about this country and wanting it to be the best country that it can be. And, you know, do we really want to maintain our values, or do you just want to make a buck while you watch it go down the drain? It's just really weird to me. But I think to the general population, because, you know, you have the people making money off of this that have, you know, lots of followers, and they get paid. This is their job. There's the mainstream media, there's the left media, there's the right media, and then there's all of us people trying to figure out who's lying about what this week. Or, you know, most people, they just watch whatever comes from out of their side and they believe that, and they don't even research anything. But to the people that are the peons, those of us that are watching all this stuff, we have to start questioning what our side is doing and what our side is putting out. And we have to start using our logic and not being asleep, not just scrolling through, asking questions. You know, when something doesn't sound right, look it up. What's really scary is we all have the same tool in front of us. You know, I think about this a lot. 30 years ago, when I had a question about something, it wasn't that easy to get the answer sometimes. And now I can have the answer in seconds. And we're dumber now than we were 30 years ago. I think that's an issue. I really think that, you know, we've got to do better. But I will say this. I have been single, obviously, when you grow up and, you know, until you're married. Single, married, divorced, and, of course, single again. And for many years, I was, we'll say, working at home and from home. And during that time, I had my own schedule and was able to stay on top of things better and keep up with what was going on, and Google things if I don't even like that word, look up things if I needed to look them up. And about 5 years ago, I started working outside the home again, and I was, you know, away from my house for 40 hours a week, and I started not paying attention so much. I didn't have the time, I didn't have the energy. It was completely different. And that's when it occurred to me, you know, when our family started falling apart, or when women started getting into the workforce at much higher numbers, when both, you know, husband and wife or mom and dad were working away from the home, you now you don't have anybody that has the time or energy to stay on top of the issues. And I saw this happen in myself, so I know for sure that it's happening. And makes me think about the destruction of the family, and if that's just a byproduct of that, or if that was something that was planned, keep us too busy to know what's going on. But it's definitely happening. And so when people are done working at the end of the day, they want their talking head to just tell them, tell me the one sentence that I need to know about that topic, so I kind of know what's going on. Even if they get that far, there's people that don't even have, social media, people on their social media that are those media people, I guess. They just have their friends, family, or whatever, and they really don't know what's going on. I am dependent on that for most of my news, because I haven't had cable in like a decade, I guess, and I get my news from the internet. So I try to have a bunch of different sources, but it definitely changes things when you're working outside the home. And I do think, I can be paranoid and say, oh, they definitely planned that. That was part of the big plan. I don't know if it was or not, but it's definitely happening. It doesn't really matter. It's definitely happening, and we need to make sure. I mean, that's something when people are having the stance that they have, and they think that it's fine for a single parent, for a person to go, let's say, get a surrogate and have a baby by yourself, which I'm not okay with. I don't think that's okay. But the people that think that, they don't think about stuff like this. And it is important. We can't pay attention if we're too busy raising our kids by ourselves, or trying to make enough money to live, or, fill in the blank. And so we really need to teach our children how important it is to find that person if we're going to have kids, and if that's in our plans, which hopefully it is for most kids out there, to marry somebody that you could spend the rest of your life with, and to plan ahead and have one of you, I think it should be the mom, stay home and be in charge of the family, be in charge of the household, be in charge of the kid, hopefully homeschool. And I just think that's the way that it should be. If you're at home, you have time to stay on top of these things while your husband's working, and the family unit can know what's going on and know when they need to get involved in things. So sorry if you're a guy. Well, I don't know, you can agree with that too. Just because I'm a woman saying it doesn't mean that it won't apply to you. But I just feel like I'm just a traditional kind of person, and I just feel like that's the way God designed families to be. And there's definitely issues because that has fallen apart. So anyway, us peons, whether we're on the right or the left, we need to find the common ground that we have with people on whatever the issue is. We need to ask questions. We need to find out why people think or feel the way that they do, because the reality is you're probably both more in the middle than they want us to believe. They want to keep us divided so that, divide and conquer, right? We need to be more united on things that we can unite on. There's some things we're not going to be able to agree on, but we need to stop just believing what we're told and then going off on social media about it and alienating people because we're on different sides. So that is my gripe for the week. And I don't know what I'm going to wake up to tomorrow. I'm kind of afraid. I was not on social media really at all today, just because everything has gotten so aggravating for me, because I don't have a single friend that sees what I see about this whole Tim Ballard and OUR stuff. And most of my friends are conservative. And they think I'm crazy. And It's lonely. But there are people, obviously there's other people online that are sharing similar stuff. That's where I'm getting the information from. And I'm thankful for those people that put the information out, not just so I can get the information, but also so that I can feel like I'm not alone. But hopefully there's not going to be anything crazy tomorrow. I've got some work I have to do on other stuff on my house, and I don't have time to be upset about it again. I still have a video I want to make that hopefully will be coming out soon. But y'all have a blessed day, and try to see your friends' point of view differently, and hopefully they'll do the same. And mostly just keep praying for each other. Pray for your people and pray for your enemies too. I know that's the hard one, but that's what we got to do. But I will talk to you later.